Good evening and welcome to Friday 8 p.m. Periscope. And can I first of all say how really pleased I am to be joined by Anne-Marie Waters. Good evening, Anne-Marie.
Hi, David. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. It's good to see you. I think the weather's possibly somewhat warmer where you are.
I'm not a fan of this kind of heat. I think it was 32 in London today, or something like that. I'm in Essex, so it's it's hot.
It's about minus 32 with me.
Well, there you go.
I mean, in a mood of optimism, I've got a short sleeve shirt on, so I'm trying to be optimistic. So, look, first of all, thank you for being here, Anne-Marie. Thanks everybody for being on the stream. I know a lot of these folks really look forward to seeing you, Anne-Marie. So, your presence is much appreciated. Anne-Marie is very busy, so she's got loads of things to be doing, folks. So we're going to have a 30-minute stream tonight. So that'll give you more time to relax afterwards, after we're finished with you. And so that's essentially the agenda. As ever, if you're on Periscope, send as many hearts as you can. Give your finger a digital workout. Usual stuff. If you can send a super heart, send that. If you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, just sit back and enjoy the conversation. So fundamentally, there's loads of. Can you see the comments, Anne-Marie, on your?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay, so that's
everyone.
There's lots of warm welcomes to you. So, okay, so look, Anne-Marie, we'll cut to the chase. First of all, do you remember way back in March, Boris telling us, hey, the lockdown, folks, we've got to do it, but it's going to just be for 3 weeks. Now, simple mathematics, 3 weeks from middle of March, the third week in March, we've gone more than 4 months, and now he's locked down he's locked down 4.7 million people in the north of England. What's your thoughts, Anne-Marie?
Where do you start with all this? I mean, the sci-fi movie I always talk about just continues to twist and turn. There's what's really worrying about this, or one of the things really worrying about this, is all the confusion it's causing. They're giving us a little bit of freedom and then taking it back again. And we have this scenario where we're reading headlines and I just read a BBC article about it. And we're reading such bizarre things, like they were going to allow us to do this, and now they're not. And we were allowed to meet people from other households, now we're not. Yeah. And just even reading that is surreal, isn't it? You realise that Boris Johnson and Chris Whitty deciding, sitting down at a table and deciding whether or not we can go to visit a family member. This is insane. It's causing real stress out there. And I want to know why it's happening. We know the areas that have had to be locked down. We know the parts of the country that have had to be locked. Are we having an honest conversation about this? I doubt it.
No.
It's getting worse all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange one, Anne-Marie, because we had Boris doing his very warm welcome to Eid last night. I don't know if you saw the video.
I didn't see it.
He put it was like a hostage video. You know the usual sort. He should have been in an orange jumpsuit, right? But he did the video. But then the bit that really amused me was Hancock. Then Matt Hancock comes on and he says, "Oh, by the way, you're under house arrest." So, I mean, you have to laugh at it, but at one level. And at another level, it's appalling. And actually, Anne-Marie, it's a wee bit like torture. One thing about me is, believe it or not, I like to swim. I up until lockdown, I would swim every morning. It's what I've always done. And of course, they closed the swimming pool and stuff. And then we got the news that, the swimming pools are going to be, leisure centres are going to be open again. And now we got the news, no, they're not yet. And maybe not at all, because of this imaginary second wave that Boris fetishes about. So it's like torture, isn't it? It's like teasing us, a wee bit of freedom, but then it's gone.
Yeah, I mean, and it's psychological. Look, I'm not suggesting it is happening, but let's go back to my sci-fi movie. If a dangerous, poisonous government was attempting to remove all of its citizens' freedoms permanently, this is how I would write they would go about it. Now, I'm not suggesting that's what's happening, but you can understand this is real, and it's really affecting everyone's everyday life. And it's I feel really negative about it, this mask thing. Yep. And it's not nice to have that in your everyday life. It's really not. And the things we've lost, we mustn't underestimate what we've lost. And like you say, swimming, that's a big part. That's a lovely thing to do every day, by the way. I wish I did that. But, you know, this is a lovely part of your life, I'm sure. Now they've just taken it. It's affecting people in these terrible ways. And I want to know actually what's going on. And I'm not, random figures from the government are no longer good enough. I'm not suggesting anything sinister is going on, but that's no longer good enough. It's a big ask. What they're asking us, you know, and we deserve to know what's going on. Figures thrown at us from Boris Johnson. And this thing about Eid, I'll watch it, but I'll do it before I eat, perhaps.
Yeah, that's probably best, Anne-Marie.
Can I ask? You said this imaginary second wave. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, insofar as there's no evidence, in my view, that there is a second wave anywhere in the world. What there are increasing cases of people who have been detected with the virus, but that's because the amount of testing, Anne-Marie, has been really racked up. So the more you test, the more cases you get. And the thing that they don't talk about is the mortality rate. Why don't they talk about that? Because here in Northern Ireland, it's been averaging between 0 to 1 person since the beginning of June. Scotland now is at 0. Wales is pretty much at 0. England, I think it was maybe 12 today or 15, something like that. So they're not talking about deaths anymore. Instead, it's all these new cases. And you know, you're right, Anne-Marie. It's like a horrific science fiction where the government slowly strips you away. And actually, with me tomorrow, masks become. I know in England it was about, I think it's maybe a week ago now since they became compulsory. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not wearing masks. It ain't happening. But from tomorrow, that becomes the government regulation, which of course isn't the law, but it becomes a regulation tomorrow. And I've heard, I don't know, Anne-Marie, with the heat and all, I've had loads of people on social media saying to me today, it's horrific because we've got all this great heat and we're all walking around, a lot of people, especially elderly people, walking around in masks. It's cruel, isn't it? It
is actually. That's a very good word for it. It is. In this heat, you're exhaling into a sheet that is fastened to your face and your exhalation is warm, and we are in a really it's really warm here. I'm going to do the very British thing and complain when it's too hot and too cold. But it is, yes, you're right, it's horrific. I put a tea towel on my face, but just because I haven't been going anywhere. I don't particularly want to get into it's awful because I feel like I can't go to the shop. I can't go to the shop unless I wear this thing. And I just haven't gone to the shop. Actually, this is real disruption to people's lives. And absolutely, this is the main reason I don't want to wear it. And that's hot weather or not, is that I'm breathing my own. This is not, and it's sweaty, and it's just, to me, it just screams unhygienic. And I just really against wearing it.
You know, Anne-Marie, one of the reasons that I swim, and I've been swimming now for about 10 years or so, is because it's a really good exercise to boost your cardiovascular regime and boost your immune system. I swim first thing in the morning. It boosts your immune system. It's at my age as well, it's a good thing for me to do, right? One of the worst things you can do at any time is to depress your immune system. And that's what's so mad about all this. If you whack a mask on, or if you stay indoors, as we were made to do for like 3 months, then you're further depressing your immune system, damaging your ability to fight the virus, which they say, is so lethal that nobody dies from it anymore. It's just mad. It's madness from this government. I have to say, Anne-Marie, I mean, I didn't vote Conservative, but I can only imagine many people will now think, what the hell did we do back in December?
What's really bizarre about it all, though, David, is that it's not just the Tories. The entire Western world has been doing the same things. Obviously, what's most relevant to us is that we have lost every bit of our everyday life, control over every bit of our everyday life. That's not an exaggeration or an overstatement. And and equally bizarre is the random nature of the restrictions. So I was in Wales yesterday. I had to wear a mask in England, but I didn't have to wear one in Wales. So, does corona, people are making these jokes, aren't they, about coronavirus knowing not to infect anyone until the 24th of July. It also knows not to infect anyone in Wales. Because masks not, and then you require, you know, the whole sandwich debacle, the Pret debacle, where Matt Hancock was forced to admit that, yes, if you go in to sit down and eat your sandwich, you don't need to wear a mask. If you go in just to buy the sandwich to take it away, you need to wear a mask. I mean, come on. I saw one the other day as well, museums. The museum itself, you don't have to wear a mask. The museum shop, you do. Now, someone said to me, isn't it because the museum shop is smaller? But that's so random in itself. You're not to know what kind of places are in the museum. This is where we are. We're talking about really ridiculous things and putting really ridiculous plans in place while the consequences are so real and so important.
Absolutely right. And I mean, actually, the government was only banging on yesterday, I think it was, about obesity, and people are going to get £500 voucher in disadvantaged areas for bicycles and stuff. So they're saying that. And then the next day, they're turning around and saying, oh, by the way, we're closing the leisure centres down anyway. It's either, it's just control chaos or even worse. Depends how you want to look upon it. I'm not sure. But what it isn't, it's not leadership. It's not really, it's not doing the best for the British people, the British economy. It's none of those things, is it, Anne-Marie? It's awful.
Are they telling us yet where Rishi Sunak is going to get all this money from?
Yeah.
Where are they getting it from?
Jeremy Corbyn's magic money tree.
Right. He's obviously borrowed it.
He got it. Yeah, he's stolen it.
It's wonderful. It really is wonderful that they are helping in the way they are, and they should have, and it was the right thing to do, and I support it. But he needs to start telling us where he's getting the money from. And we know it's going to be from us through taxation. It should be through stopping foreign aid. And it should be by not giving, or by giving as little as possible to the European Union under any circumstance, by taking back control and investing in this economy instead of sending the money. That's how we're going to get British people back to work. That's how we're going to rebuild this country. I want to hear that from Rishi Sunak. You know, not from me, from Rishi Sunak. He needs to tell us what his plans are instead of constantly give, which is great. But reality, where's the money coming from? Tell us your plan. Right? Not just taxing us. Tell us what you're going to do that isn't going to put the burden on us for generations, because that's your job. But we know that's...
Well, Anne-Marie, the other thing that's much in the news, and I'm sure you'll have views on this, is we've seen these even throughout this whole lockdown. The one thing that wasn't locked down was the beaches on our southern shores, where this endless armada of opportunistic migrants, let's call them that or whatever, have been
very civil of you.
Yeah, nothing if not that. And then I'm sure you saw Nigel Farage's video where he went to a hotel.
I haven't seen it yet, no.
Yeah, so basically he went to a Britannia hotel in Bromsgrove, so up in the west, in the Midlands, and it's fully occupied by these people. No cars in the car park, but it's been block booked for them in perpetuity. So here's the thing. So how can this be? How can it be that parts of like Northern England are now in lockdown, but our beaches are wide open, and the people that get to the beaches get the stuff that can be put up in hotels, care of us taxpayers. Meanwhile, there's still people, British people, sleeping on the streets, regardless of what they say, including ex-military. Anne-Marie, make sense of this. Just what's going on.
I get it. I mean, I see your frustration. I can't make sense of it either. We've been manipulated. The people have been manipulated, weakened, taught to hate themselves, taught that they don't deserve this country, taught that this country isn't worth having anyway. There's so many parts to this, so many reasons for it. But the ultimate is just the dismantling of this country. We are the bottom. The British people are at the absolute bottom of the ladder. And when your government tells you this over and over again, it affects us as a country. You're told that you're nothing worth fighting for. Hand it away. If you don't hand it away, you're a bigot, you're a racist. This racist thing is relentless, relentless. And as you know what, David, it's doing one thing. It is creating racism.
Yep, I agree.
That's the only thing it's doing. Because I know people are getting really, I'm so sick of this. That's becoming very common. And that's not a positive thing. But we are you know what I'm going to say? I say it all the time. We have to stand against them. I was in Swansea yesterday. Labour are intending to dismantle the history of Swansea. They have already, at the speed of light. It's amazing how efficient Labour are when it comes to tearing down statues or tearing down or changing street names or taking down a sign, which is what they did in Swansea. A shopping centre in the town is named after a Picton, I think it's
Picton, yeah.
And they've taken down the sign post haste. It was taken down. Now they want to change another street, Delabesh Road. They want to change to who knows what, but it's just the start. And now they're going to review everything. They're dismantling British history, British identity. It's all being dismantled. And this allowing people in is part of it. It's part of it because it sends a message to us of what kind of society we're in. It puts us in our place. And again, it confuses people. Like both of us. The whole country is confused. How can this be? How can we be locked down while people from across the world are coming into it? How no one can make sense of it. Yeah, no one knows quite what's going on, and that in itself is destabilizing for us and dangerous for us.
Yeah, actually, Anne-Marie, that's a very good point, because again, during the worst parts of lockdown, when we weren't allowed to travel anywhere, our airports were still bringing people in. From
China.
Yeah, from China, from Wuhan, certainly from Pakistan. They were still coming in. It's so bizarre what we witness. The way Britain is being chiseled out from within. But like Labour enthusiastically embrace the erasure of everything that's British. But look at Priti Patel, who postured and who was seemingly reasonably convincing as someone a bit more sort of strong on matters of immigration. I mean, she couldn't be more weak. She's like a blancmange. I mean, I'm embarrassed for the very fact that I've ever said anything in favour of her. Once she got into office, she just rolled over on her back, didn't she?
It's very rare that I give a politician a benefit of the doubt. And like you say, I've also said positive things about her. I was really optimistic.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit embarrassing when it goes that wrong.
I know.
But there is, I think, scope to give her the benefit of the doubt that she actually did want to do some of the things, like get that grooming gang report published.
Yeah.
I don't think she'd have made the public fuss about it if she didn't mean it. There was nothing to gain for her about it. And I think when that happens to a politician, you can at least give them the benefit of the doubt that they meant to do that, but found that they couldn't. And I think a lot of ministers, the sort of nature of the thing is that a lot of ministers go in and they're temporary fixtures as far as the civil service is concerned. And the civil service says, you're just a figurehead. You're just here for the photographs. We're in charge here. Yeah. And I think that a minister who does try to make change and does try to do something will be fiercely met with a wall of civil servants not wanting that, wanting to put the minister back in their box. But the bullying accusation is another reason that I'm willing to perhaps give her the benefit of the doubt, because it came at a time when she was making demands. It's been unsubstantiated, but it silenced her. And in that way, yes, if that's what happened, I have obviously no way of knowing.
Yeah.
But if that's what happened, if that was an attempt to silence her, then she was silenced. It worked. She hasn't certainly been as strong since. And that's where the weakness is to me.
Yeah, and actually, Anne-Marie, that's a very fair and even assessment. And I think it rings true to me. I mean, one of the things I've discussed on this stream before is the fact that we actually have a permanent government. And it is essentially, it is that civil service, faceless bureaucracy that's unelected, but they do the work. And I mean, we see it here, for example, at local level, in here in Northern Ireland, for example. And I know this myself from experience, it's not the ministers making decisions. It's their spanners and the bureaucrats. They make all the politicians are there for the photo calls. You're so right, Anne-Marie. But then that means there's a democratic deficit, doesn't it? Because we're electing these people, and really they are only for the photos, for the openings and all that, the photo calls. And these other people who we don't elect actually run the country. So we have I know people talk about this shadow government, but it's not inaccurate. Yeah, well, yeah.
That's part of it. It's my understanding of deep state. I'm not sure I entirely understand deep state, but that's certainly part of it. Am I right?
Yeah, you are. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, Trump was the first one to really raise the shadow over in the States. But here in the UK, it does explain Priti Patel. It arguably even explains Boris to a degree anyway, although I think Boris was always a liberal. I don't believe
think he's as strong as Priti Patel, to be honest.
No, absolutely right. And then when you see people like Matt Hancock and others, they are just shameless political opportunists, in my view.
Matt Hancock, he's, gosh, I don't want to be unkind, but he's a rabbit in the headlights to me. I just don't have confidence in them when I see them out there. I just don't have confidence in this major crisis that will have consequences for generations to come. I look at the government and I don't feel confident, and I'm sure that's an understatement for many of us. But I don't have confidence in them.
I think, Anne-Marie, I know we touched on this previously, but the thing that it's getting closer and closer as we tomorrow we enter August, and the furlough scheme will start to come to an end. And honest to God, there's going to be massive systemic unemployment in this country, and the government, I don't know. I mean, they must see it coming. They must see it coming, but I still worry like hell, because I think, I don't know, maybe do they not realize that? I know I'm in business. I understand how business works. There's loads of companies, zombie companies, Anne-Marie. They've been kept, they went over the cliff back in March because of lockdown. The only thing that saved them from crashing was the furlough that paid for wages for a few months. Yeah. That's all. That's coming to an end, and they're all going out of business in September, October. And what's going to happen to all those people?
Well, we're going to have a huge increase in unemployment, obviously, and then we're going to have a huge welfare bill, and we're going to have a huge increase in state dependency, and we're going to have a huge increase in poverty. And all of these things weaken us as people, and weaken us as a society, and as people willing to sort of fight back. It's the weakening of people. I have an inkling, though, that the furlough will extend. I think they're going to spend. I just don't see any end to this spending. But either way, we have a massive increase in state dependency. And if we go back to the sci-fi film, that again is how you take over people, make them dependent on you.
Yeah, Anne-Marie, I think you may well be proven right, because I think at the moment government borrowing. I was on a presentation the other day. The government is basically able to borrow at 0%. In fact, some borrowing for the government is even negative. So it can borrow. What's 40 billion between friends, and of course it does have to be paid back ultimately. But politicians are here today, gone tomorrow. This lot will be gone in 10 years. You'll have forgotten all about them. But the bill will be picked up by the generations that are coming up, because it will have to be paid back. You just don't get to spend indefinitely. But yeah, I think you might be right. I think that they'll probably figure we can't take a hit on unemployment. I mean, somebody talked about 3 to 4 million by February, March. That would destroy this government in credibility terms, if not in electoral terms. So if they can't afford that, then they'll whack the furlough and call it something else and buy.
I think so. Buy a bit of time. Buy a bit of time. That's what I expect.
Yeah.
But whether you say the debt has to be paid back, I just don't see how it ever could be. Debt is already, we were at 85% of GDP in debt before coronavirus. We must be 150% in it by now, or we'll get there. How can you ever feasibly pay that back? at some point, the circle of borrowing is going to have to stop. And I don't know what happens then.
No,
but this isn't helping. This is not helping. This bubble is going to burst at some point.
No, absolutely. And
it's dangerous from all angles, David.
Well, listen, Anne-Marie, just before we get to the end of the stream, because it's a shorter stream, I know that there's an event tomorrow in London, and you're going to be speaking at it. So maybe you'd just like to remind everybody watching and those who will watch, just to talk us through what's happening tomorrow in London.
Yes, we are in Parliament Square tomorrow, 12 o'clock. I will be confronted with the shameful cover of the statue of Winston Churchill. I believe it's still there.
Not sure.
I'll find out tomorrow, but I believe it is. We'll be there at 12 o'clock. We are protesting for the removal from this country of 3 convicted Rochdale gang rapists who are still here. They have been apparently given the go-ahead to be thrown out more than once, yet they're still here, still living in Rochdale, still tormenting those victims. And what on earth are we doing? These people should have been gone. Those and several thousand others should be gone. So we will be there protesting for justice for the victims of Rochdale, and for these, what should I call them? Child raping scumbags to be thrown out of this country once and for all. And I'm so tired of the government wringing its hands and pretending it has no power over the courts. If the Human Rights Act is stopping you throwing them out, get rid of the Human Rights Act. That's it.
Yeah.
That's 12 o'clock tomorrow. See you there. Let's make this as big as we can. Bring a Union Jack, by the way. It's a Hearts of Oak asked me this week to ask everyone to bring a Union Jack, so please do. Let's wave the flag.
Well, I think there's a great bill of speakers tomorrow, Anne-Marie, not least yourself. I think Tommy Robinson has I think it's a recording. I'm not sure he's going to be there in person or not because of difficulties, but there's a great group of people going to be there. Carl Benjamin's going to be there, I think, as well. So I would want to wish all of you folks that are going to be there tomorrow the very best. I hope it's a great day. I hope it's not too warm.
Oh, it will be.
I also hope that nobody will be wearing masks because you're out in the open. You don't need to. So send a message for freedom and liberty. No masks. We're not a mask society. And as I say, if you're on the stream and if you can be there tomorrow to support Anne-Marie and Hearts of Oaks and all the other speakers, please do that. And that said, that's it from me for tonight. Anne-Marie, thank you for being part of this. It's always a pleasure to have you on the stream.
David.
And
thank you.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. Hope you've enjoyed this brief conversation. I will be back Monday night, 8 o'clock. I'll see you all then, if not before, in other ways, and I will catch up with each other then. Thanks for now, and speak real soon. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.